that whole tune again is 7, but the last thing I was doing in any of it was counting. I'm just feeling that 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So I'm gonna have Andrew, you all know Andrew Loggins, and a good friend of mine, Gary Ward, come up here, bass. Gary.
That's it.
And, we're gonna mess around a little bit of time too. Gary.
No, no, it's not.
No, not Gary. That Gary, right there. Anybody ever hear Pink Floyd?
No, never.
Okay, you ever saw Money?
Vaguely.
They do.
You know what time it's in?
Odd.
No. It's also in 7, but it's a 7/4. So again, we'll stick with the 7 sub, but it's 7/4. So it's just we'll break it down a little bit slower, but it's going to be 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1. And same thing for these guys. No one wants to really have to be counting 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1. It just gets monotonous. It gets tiresome. So we'll just kind of jam around on that a little bit. All right. That's a tune I played as a kid, and I had no idea it was a 7. You know, I had teachers at the time, and they never told me it was a 7. I wasn't taking all the music I was playing at home to them, but I could just play it by ear. But once I learned to understand what I was doing and break it down, that's where I could ability to either solo or step things out. But there's another tune. Anyone like Led Zeppelin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should all be raising their hands.
Yeah. Anybody doesn't like Led Zeppelin? Anyway, anyone familiar with the song "The Ocean"? All right. Well, there's different ways. I guess it would depend on the person you're going to count it, but it's really like a bar of 8/8, which can be 4/4, and then followed by a bar of 7. Or you could say it's really 15. Okay, but it's going to be. We'll play it for you. I'll kind of count it. I grew up with as a kid, and I had no idea. I just heard it, and it made sense, and I played it. But it wasn't until a little bit later in life that I could actually figure out what he was doing. And I don't necessarily think that they sat down and planned on someone saying, "Hey, let's write this." I think a lot of music is just written wherever they feel that that someone's writing a riff, and everyone else is going to come up with it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you were younger and you were learning a song like that, like before you ever knew about how to even approach odd stuff, what was kind of going through your mind? How did you go about like learning that stuff in a way that was effective?
I don't like that question so much. That's a great question. When I was younger, and it really is a good question, I think I was picking up on those pulses of like, I would listen to stuff over and over, and without necessarily, again, counting it out or trying to count it out, I think I was feeling a lot of those pulses. I just, knew that underlying concept of what I learned later in life from Gary Chapey about those 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I could kind of feel that. So I always could kind of feel where that one was. And to me, instead of it being a whole long thing, it was really just landing, always making sure I always landed on one. So if I was playing, I knew where that one was. I just felt internally. So I think at home in anything that you're doing, the first thing that I look for in playing along with different things is to really know where that one is. Really know where that downbeat is, because we're so programmed, and 99.9% of the music we hear is all in 4/4 or 6/8, some variation of that, and you get programmed for that. So it's feeling where that new downbeat is, and just sticking with that. It's an internal clock, and we all have it. If you tap your foot to a song, and you have that internal clock. You just need to know what that downbeat is in there, and then trust your gut instinct that you're going to land on one. And even if you're lost, you're still going to be able to find one. That's one thing I've learned the ability to do. No matter how far I stretch things out when I'm playing, and Gary will attest to this. But on certain gigs, I'll really push time and play upside down and backwards or whatever it is. But I just always think, and they're like, well, how do you do that? I'm like, well, I know where one is. It's almost like there's an underlying click track, that just tells me where it is. It's like you throw a cat out of a tree, hopefully it's going to land on its feet. Hopefully whatever I'm doing, I'm going to land on my feet. Another thing I've learned, no matter what I'm doing, I'm going to get into this now. It's the next thing I'm going to get into. All music, it's perfect to go into this for what Andrew's question leads to. All music will come back to one. If you stay with whatever you're doing, okay, eventually, mathematically, it has to come back and line up on one. I'm going to start with a 3-note pattern. And there's a thing I learned from Gary was called rhythm modulation. Like I said, we all play different instruments, but we all play the same notes. So if I'm playing 16th notes, and I'm just playing 1 yana, 2 yana, 3 yana, 4 yana, 1 yana, 2 yana, 3 yana, 4 yana. If I want to start with a 3-note pattern, okay? Now as a drummer, okay, I can play any 3-note pattern. It's not a triplet. A triplet would be. I'm going to stick with 16th notes and go. But if I want to play right, now as a drummer I can superimpose this. As a guitarist, as bass, anybody can do this with any instrument. Okay, you can come up with a 3-note pattern. But if I want to take that and go 1 yana, 2 yana, 3 yana, 4 yana, 1 yana, 2 yana, 4 yana, 1 yana, 2 yana, 4 yana, 1 yana, 2 yana, 4 yana. Okay, it took me 3 bars. It's a 3-note pattern. It took me three bars to get back to one. So if I'm lost in time, lost in space, what I like to be called, I'm just lost in space. If I stick with whatever I'm doing, I will wind back up on one. Okay, which can relate back to Andrew's statement, my internal one that I should feel pretty strongly. But there's another thing. There's a lot that goes with this. Every 3rd quarter note, if I'm playing 1 yana, 2 yana, if I'm playing a 3-note pattern, every 3rd quarter note I'm going to come down on a downbeat. So I'm going to go 1 yana, 2 yana, 3 yana, 4 yana, 1 yana, 2 yana, 3 yana, 4 yana. 1, 2, 3. It also now, keep going with math, I have what's called a polyrhythm. more than one rhythm going on. And that polyrhythm is a group of four over three. So I have all from this one sticking pattern. Now, at the same time, there's two different ways I can count it. I can go. If I pick up my left hand now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You know, but without going too far, we're just going to do a thing keeping this as 16th notes. And I'm going to play a little bit of a funk groove. These guys are going to play with me, and there's what I call perfect modulation or imperfect. Imperfect means, you know, I'm gonna move everything, you know, into that new time. You know, and with these guys for today, I'm just gonna stick with it for the most part. I'm gonna play a 2-bar pattern. So if I play 2 bars, I'll have 2 extra notes left over. And anybody after this can, you know, the math is simple. It's just. For me to take simple notes, and again, anyone could do it as a drummer, you could do it as a guitar player. It's just taking a 3-note pattern. Mathematically, the same thing without, you know, being limited on time. I could do the same thing with a 5-note pattern. You know, if I had a 5-note pattern, you know, I could like every 5th measure, it would land on the 5th quarter note. Or if I stuck with it for 5 bars, you know, 5 full measures, it would take me all the way back to 1. If I did a 7-note pattern, you know, which I could play as a drummer like right, okay? It's every 7 quarter notes, it's going to come down. So if I again, it's a system math, like I said, that just goes on and on, but it's a way that any musician can start playing with these complex rhythms, but try to keep it and learn it in a simple way. You know, because you will, like I said, you will always, no matter how far out you want to stretch with something rhythmically, you can always come back down to 1. And you know, learning it on a gig is not always the best thing. You know, my advice. It's something you want to practice. You know, when I started with Gary, it was one of those things where he would have me do the most ridiculous things in the world, and I'd be barely holding on a thread. And he'd be like, "Okay, now your left foot slants the line over like this," or "Now your right foot," whatever it was, he was going to mess me up. And none of this stuff was stuff I was going to take to a gig. But once I started hearing these rhythms and practicing,